What's going on? This is Marty Styles, and what we got here is Fight Night's Finest. Let's get ready to rumble! Fight Night's Finest. Let's step in the ring where the lights are blinded. I'm about to just knock you out. Now your mouthpiece, you cannot find it. You cannot face the weather. Warming up like May's weather. Super fast like Mayweather. You cannot put your face together. Cause my hands is lightning speed. I don't really think people wanna fight with me. You'll likely flee like Frazier from Foreman. Guaranteed tonight you'll bleed. Looking like I swiped your feet from under you. I'm like Tyson Beast. I'll punish you. I don't think that there's nothing your freaks are gonna do but sleep.
You hear that opening bell coming to you from ringside. The team is back in position to call Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao and the Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya. Once again, it is your host, Arachnid Soul, from youtube.com/Arachnid Soul, joined by the man next to me, Fight Night's Finest, the Sophic commentator. Fight Night, what's going on?
What is going on, boxing fans and gamers? It's your boy, Fight Night's Finest, the Sophic commentator, calling this online match here with your color commentator, Arachnid Soul. We're going to be in for some great action here tonight. Manny Pacquiao versus Oscar De La Hoya. Now, Arachnid, I know normally we'll go straight to you after this, but I just got to say, this is one of those matches where you kind of get in it and you just think to yourself, what did I just get myself into? Coming in with a 7-pound disadvantage is Manny Pacquiao here in this matchup against one Oscar De La Hoya.
Not only the weight disadvantage, but also the reach disadvantage. But do not count either one of these fighters out. At one point in time, both of these fighters, arguably pound for pound, were the best fighters in the world. Manny Pacquiao, many consider still to be pound for pound the best fighter in the world. Opening round here, the feeling out process. We are seeing the early goings of boxing's sweet science. Boxing 101, if you will. It's going to be very interesting to see how this thing plays out over the next 5 or 6 rounds.
Now I gotta say, Arachnid, after we saw this opening round, De La Hoya switched to southpaw. That's not something that you would usually see from most De La Hoya players online here in Fight Night Champion. But you saw him make that quick adjustment as Manny Pacquiao is all of a sudden having some trouble connecting with that jab. And when you can't start off with that jab, you have a hard time starting off your offense. And then we actually seen a first round that I do believe went to Manny Pacquiao, start the momentum shift, start to go to Oscar De La Hoya.
Now when we talk about fighters fighting orthodox or fighting southpaw, there's been a lot of great fighters throughout the history of boxing who you might not know about because they fought southpaw, and it was extremely hard for them, their camps, their promoters, to get other boxers to take fights with them. And so much of the time, be it on a video game or be it in real life, a guy likes to fight southpaw and doesn't just want to use southpaw fighters. So it's possible that the guy you're going up against here, the guy boxing as Oscar De La Hoya, is actually a guy who likes to use southpaw fighters, wanted to switch it up, realized there's not many. Wait a minute, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao rocked that time, puts his helmet on, backs up, look for the clinch, could not get it. Oscar De La Hoya coming in punches and bunches, and we see that Pac-Man is safe once again.
Yeah, you see him getting right back to that jab, getting right back to what it is that he knows. But I gotta say, we know the history behind this player online. He is not a southpaw fighter. Maybe right now he's in that feeling out process that you talked about in round 1. We know he carries over to round number 4 before he really go ahead and starts to make those adjustments. But you gotta say, it's never a good idea, Arachnid, to bring out your entire arsenal in the first 3 rounds. So what we're seeing here from Manny Pacquiao is he's probably still testing the waters against this 156 wins and 6 losses fighter. This is one of those fights that you come into and you see the guy's record and you just say, I gotta put my best foot forward.
Well, it's almost like guys playing Texas Hold'em. You don't want to show your hand. It makes it too easy for the opponents to know exactly what to do. And like you said, you don't want to bring everything out of your arsenal in round 1, in round 2. Maybe you wait until round 3 or 4. We come to the end of the second round fight night. If I had to ask you to judge this fight based on the first 2 rounds, and yes, they were feeling out rounds, how do you see this thing? How do you break it down so far?
Well, I give round number 1 to Manny Pacquiao and definitely round number 2 to Oscar De La Hoya. He is the superb southpaw fighter compared to one Manny Pacquiao in the ring here tonight. And it's shown every second this fight goes on. Now, like I said earlier in round number 1, the adjustment was made by De La Hoya. The question is, will Pacquiao make the adjustment in order to take momentum back in this fight?
I think we will see that from Manny Pacquiao. Both men still fresh. Both men, like I've said a million times already, in the feeling out process. But they've learned what the other guy, what the other individual, what the other fighter, what the other boxer, what the other combatant, if you will, is bringing to the table here tonight on pay-per-view. We're in round number 3 now. You said that you gave 1 round to Pacquiao. You said that you gave 1 round to De La Hoya. As they start to turn up in round number 3, we're seeing the exchanges, the straights, the uppercuts. Both men, do you think that they're going a little bit too balls to the wall here in round number 3?
Well, after these cautious starting rounds in round number 1 and 2, sometimes you got to turn up in pace in order to see what it is that your opponent brings to the table. We talked about the disadvantages earlier in round number 1. Let's speak about the advantages of both of these fighters in round number 3. Both of these men have power, and when you have power, you can go ahead and ramp up the pace. Manny Pacquiao is a combination fighter, but he has tremendous power, and we see him trying to use that to his advantage here in round number 3. But De La Hoya also has tremendous punching power in the game of Fight Night Champions. So it's not a good idea for Pacquiao to try to walk into this guy because he's counterpunching. He's using that stiff right jab, and he's using his outside ability to pot shot Pacquiao on the way inside. We head now into round number 4. Arachnid, I gotta ask you. You see Pacquiao getting cut. What can he do to adjust here? What would you recommend for him to do in this situation?
Okay, so depending on where you get cut on your face, you can kind of figure out what your opponent's throwing. I mean, there's many situations where you get cut and you're winning a fight and you realize, okay, my opponent's now going to try to make that cut worse, especially if it's above the eye, because he's not going to win this fight on points. He's not going to knock me out, but he might get a stoppage if I'm cut too deep. What Manny Pacquiao needs to do here in round number 4 is realize, yes, there's a little cut there over the bridge of the nose. It's nothing he's not used to. It's nothing he hasn't prepared for. It's nothing he hasn't trained for, and it's not a situation he hasn't been in before. Stay focused, stick to the game plan. He's not losing this fight. He's not winning the fight. Things pretty even. Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao just needs to stay in his game plan.
Now, you talked about the game plan, Arachnid. Now, you see Manny Pacquiao switching over to the orthodox stance and starting to make those adjustments. In round number 1, it was Pacquiao's southpaw stance versus De La Hoya's orthodox stance. In round number 2 and 3, it was De La Hoya's southpaw stance versus Pacquiao's southpaw stance. And the thing that we noticed was that De La Hoya had the advantage. Early on in round number 4 so far, Pacquiao, despite the lesser reach, has shown that he can outbox De La Hoya in the orthodox stance versus his southpaw. So we've seen De La Hoya switch over here to the orthodox stance, and now it's orthodox fighter versus orthodox fighter, that traditional stiff left jab coming out for both men in order to decide who has the supreme boxing skills. Now we're in round number 4. We talked about the strength advantage and the weight advantage, so you got to believe that De La Hoya's punches have just a little bit more impact on it than one Manny Pacquiao's. What we're seeing here is De La Hoya's uppercut being very, very effective against the shorter, stockier man in Manny Pacquiao. Arachnid, I pose this question to you now. Who do you think will gain the advantage after what you saw here in round number 4?
So what I saw in round number 4 was that Manny Pacquiao was coming into that round a little bit more defensively, but he was able to not only turn up in that round, but he had great defense. It's still too early to call, but I want to make another point that isn't made a lot of the time in professional boxing. It's a point that's made in Japanese MMA. It's a point that's made in Muay Thai. So many of the times in Japanese MMA or Muay Thai, you'll see, or rather hear, a coach outside the ring who will make a noise every time his fighter connects. And why he's doing that is to try to get into the ear of the judges, so the judges think, we heard that trainer yell so many times, his fighter might be winning the fight. I say that to say this: another tactic used in Japanese MMA and Muay Thai is not to wear light colored trunks like Pac-Man's wearing, because when you start bleeding, you see it more. You see De La Hoya there. Half of his trunks are red, which means, yes, he's cut. You're not going to see it as much. But anyway, Fight Night, let me ask you this question here. In the early goings, we saw the feeling out process. We saw both fighters switch from orthodox. We saw them switch to southpaw and back to orthodox. Now we're seeing these two men go at it with their strong suits. Do you think the switching up of stance helped these guys, and how so?
Well, I think it helped each opponent or each man in the ring here tonight figure out what it is that the other one is good at and what is strong at. It's obvious that Manny Pacquiao here is the better combination fighter. He can throw better punches and bunches. But what we're seeing from De La Hoya here is that De La Hoya is more accurate. He's using that side step uppercut in order to land several counter shots on Manny Pacquiao on the way in. And with that reach advantage, we're seeing that De La Hoya has a better right hand. He knows how to use the power hand a lot better than one Manny Pacquiao, who's better with his left hand. He's better at landing the jab. He's better at working off the jab, showing off a very educated left hand. But De La Hoya right now is taking the advantage because he's able to get the advantage over aggressive Pacquiao, who's coming in looking for body shots. Now, that's the main difference that I'm seeing here in this fight, is the difference in work rate. Is that, yes, De La Hoya's working. He's very effective with what he's landing, but he's not hurting Pacquiao with many of these shots. He's cutting him up, he's bruising him up, but at the end of the day, if it's not going to score a knockdown, the judges aren't going to say, you know, well, he's more effective because he's landing more cuts. Both of these men, like I said, do have severe punching power, one that can disconnect the man's skeleton from his neck. That's how hard both of these guys hit. They got bricks in each hand, Arachnid. But I gotta say, what do you think now will be the game plan for Manny Pacquiao after you see him possibly struggling from De La Hoya? What's the game plan?
Okay, so you touched on this before. Pac-Man has a couple of superficial wounds under both eyes. Nothing to worry about. What I think Manny Pacquiao needs to do here is think back to the first 5 rounds, the first 5.5 rounds. Think about what he did right, think about what he did wrong, and think about what his opponent is bringing to the table. What we're seeing now from Oscar De La Hoya is he's backing up a little bit, but it's not because he's scared, it's because he's smart. He's coming in, he's sticking and moving. Pac-Man needs to realize what's going on here, and he needs to adjust accordingly.
Well, yeah, you talked about the adjustments that can be made in this situation, and the main thing that Pacquiao has to do is he's not feinting. He's not baiting Oscar De La Hoya into anything. He's simply just walking in, looking for a counter opportunity. And yes, he has some success landing on De La Hoya. De La Hoya's defense isn't top-notch Floyd Mayweather defense. It's not that counter-punching James Toney defense either. He's getting hit with some of these shots. So as long as Pacquiao can continue to land punches, he has what we call a puncher's chance in boxing. You talked about it in wrestling, how sometimes the ref will stop a match after he sees an opponent get hit with such a severe move that it might automatically knock a guy out. Pacquiao has that kind of power to make the referee just stop this fight as we head into round number 7.
And what I saw in the second half of that last round was actually Manny Pacquiao going to the body a little bit. I mean, hell, when you think about great conditioning in the sport of professional boxing, these are two guys you think about. Manny Pacquiao's a guy, I've seen him go 10 rounds. I've seen him go 12 rounds, and at the end of it, be more fresh than a lot of fighters would be after only 2 or 3 rounds. And yes, we do see sometimes in professional sports, professional wrestling, MMA, what have you, those accidents happen. Guys are out there, they're trying to compete in the sport, but sometimes it goes a little bit far. And the referee's got to step in and make that decision that, yes, people did buy tickets. Yes, the gate was high. Yes, people are watching on TV or pay-per-view, but life and death is more important. I don't think it's going to come to that here tonight in this match, but let's continue watching. Halfway through round number 7, it's been an exciting night of boxing. Once again, it has been your host, Arachnid Soul, calling the action with Fight Night's Finest, the Sophic commentator. Not only a damn good announce team, but arguably the best announce team you're going to find here on YouTube. I'm going to turn it back over to Fight Night's Finest, and I'm going to pose the question to you, Fight Night's Finest. Do you think that what Oscar De La Hoya is doing is working well enough that he can continue, or do you think that Manny Pacquiao will switch up the strategy here and that De La Hoya is going to have to come up with another game plan?
Well, what he did early on in the first minute of this round was very effective, is what he's been doing in the last 3 rounds. But now Pacquiao's starting to outbox him. He's getting back to basics. When you see a guy doing these crazy step uppercuts, when you see him landing these crazy counter shots because of your over-aggression, get back to basics. Use your jab. He's using that stiff left jab in order to set up his counter opportunities. You see him sticking and moving. You see him bobbing and weaving some of the punches coming through from Oscar De La Hoya. And I have to say, it was a very successful adjustment for Manny Pacquiao. But at that first minute, it went to De La Hoya, and that might have been enough to give him the round. We see Pacquiao still cut there in the corner. His cornerman is actually doing a good job. And we now take a look at Arachnid Soul's scorecard. 68-65. 5 rounds to 2 in favor of Oscar De La Hoya. What have you liked from De La Hoya here tonight?
What I've liked from De La Hoya here tonight, and I said it at the beginning of the first round, boxing, the sweet science. Oscar De La Hoya, he's kept his guard up all night, has not had his hands, his gloves in his pocket. When the time is right, he comes in, he sticks, he moves. The defense has been good. The offense, he's using the ring. Oscar De La Hoya fighting a very smart fight here tonight, but do not count out the man from the Philippines. Do not count out Pac-Man. Do not count out Manny Pacquiao. We've seen him. Wait a minute, as Pacquiao once again gets rocked. Pacquiao backed up, now rocks De La Hoya.
Here comes, there's the combinations from Manny Pacquiao. He's got De La Hoya hurt. He's up against the ropes. I don't think he's going to survive too much longer. Pacquiao pushing his man off, comes through with the combination. And somebody please teach that man some defense as he gets cold clocked by a right hook and meets the canvas for the first time tonight. The first knockdown of this fight. Arachnid, the turning point. It is coming. Is Oscar De La Hoya gonna be able to recover?
Oscar De La Hoya, I'm pretty sure will be able to make it 7. Wait a minute. Yes, I believe. And the referee is saying that Oscar De La Hoya is in fine fickle. He can continue. And for the individuals tuning in, no, Diamond Dallas Page did not get in the ring and just hit a diamond cutter. No, Kenta Kobashi did not just get in the ring and hit a lariato. That was Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao with that amazing combo. If you want to see it again, check the replay. You will only see that kind of boxing action, that kind of intensity right here on Fight Night's Finest YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed, hit that subscription.
Wait a minute! He got his chin checked! It was a power left uppercut to the body, followed by a power right uppercut to the head. That put De La Hoya out of his misery. What an amazing fight. What a great night of action. Manny Pacquiao with amazing 8th round knockout Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining us. Check out my co-host, youtube.com/ArachnidSoul. Follow me on Twitter at FN'sFinest. You see it in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Once again, thank you all for joining. Subscribe if you haven't. It's been your boy, Fight Night's Finest, the selfie commentator, and I'm off this. Peace!